Hi guys, so we're gonna print some FDM minis today. I have a Bambu Labs A1 printer, and we're gonna jump into different settings and comparisons to see what it turns out to be. So this is my first print. I did it with a point 0.4 nozzle. I didn't change anything. And you'll see that a lot of the layer lines show up. It doesn't look bad, but a lot of the layer lines showed up, and taking the supports off was quite difficult. And it ruined a lot of the detail as I was taking that off, especially once you get into looking at uh, the different pieces here, the different weapons and attachments and things like that. You can really see the layer lines, and it really does kind of kill a lot of that detail. Um, so looking at the point 0.4 millimeter nozzle, I then decided, okay, so let's look at a point 0.2 millimeter nozzle and let's see if we get anything more out of that. So that's this one. Sorry about the two-tone. I ended up getting using black, starting with black, and then I had to change because I ran out of black filament. But again, so this is 0.2 millimeter nozzle, no changes at all to any settings, just basically loading it up and hitting play or hitting run. And the layer lines are better, but those taking the supports off were still very difficult. You'll still see a lot of the areas where those supports were, and also where those supports were, and where I had trouble taking those supports off. That back of the cape, I think it broke on every single one, so that's not necessarily different for um, each of the different settings. So then I did go in and I did fix settings, or I did adjust the settings. So I ended up looking up a video by Propane Pod. He has some great settings in there that I think he got from a different video. But you can kind of see how the light reflects off here. Uh, you can see the layer lines are better. They're definitely better, and these supports came off easier, much easier and much more clean than the other two nozzles with those settings came off. It was good.
So, and
Um, I like this one the best, and I was very happy with this. But then I saw another video where somebody actually printed with supports, and so I figured I would give that a try, and ended up looking at that, which I think ended up turning out the best. I was skeptical when they first came off. I ended up doing the with the supports that were pre-supported from the files, and then also added some tree supports and some automatic tree supports. The Bamboo software or studio did say that there were some areas that needed it, so it's kind of cool how it did it. And when you started taking off the supports, I didn't notice where that was really causing any issues. So you can see the pretty packed in there with supports, which is I think good, because you'll see too. I did have this support break or fail, but because of the other supports, it didn't end up failing the print, which was kind of cool. Um, yeah, so I ended up doing all the small pieces or doing it in sections. I was also skeptical on how the supports were going to come off, but honestly, once I got into it, and I snipped a lot of those off, and then or a lot of the pre-supported parts off, they kind of just came off naturally, which was really nice. Uh, and when I first took this off, this was the cleanest model by far. It felt like a lot of the detail was there. There really wasn't any breaks that I had. Um, I did end up breaking the cape in the back, just like all the other ones. I did that. I don't remember how I did it, but I ended up breaking that back cape. So all of them did end up breaking, even this one. But it wasn't when I was taking the supports off. It was probably when I dropped it or something stupid. So again, when I got this guy all together, I was very happy with how he turned out. I still think coming right off the printer, this one looked the best. And you could definitely tell a lot of the areas that were troublesome with the regular supports, and then this one that was pre-supported, you can really tell where those regular supports or the regular FDM supports caused a lot of damage, and this one you just didn't see that. Um, I'm sure again you could probably clean up some of those FDM support areas, but with like sanding and things. But again, this one came off really clean. I was really happy with it. So next we went on to priming. So I put them all. on a little stick to prime them up, just to see if that changed anything. And here I am priming them. It really didn't prime any different. For those of you curious on how they prime up versus other ones, I did use some thicker coats just because I thought that might fix some of those layer lines. So here they are, all primed up. This is the 0.4 millimeter nozzle one with, again, no settings changes. You can really see the layer lines once they're all in the same color. You can kind of see a lot of the differences in the details. You can also see too a lot of the different areas that I had break off. There was a magazine on the gun, a lot of his cape, and a couple of his fingers, and his front cape or front tabard. You can really see where those broke off, and you can really see the layer lines now that it's all primed up. Again, that's the 0.4. Here's the 0.2 with no settings changes. You can see again some of the tips broke off of the fingers, but it's way better. There's a lot less like noticeable layer lines, which I think really helps the definition, and goes to show you that you really can just use the 0.2 millimeter nozzle and you'll get better results than with the 0.4. But again, let's jump into the 0.2 millimeter nozzle with the settings changes, because this is where I started to see a bigger jump in the quality. I mean, you can even see up on the head there, the paw print on his forehead, I think gained a lot of definition. And then the layer lines, I would say, are pretty much the same. But again, it comes down to where those supports were, and like the fingers and the tabard and stuff like that. A lot of those parts didn't break off, or if they did, it was very minimal. And again, hardly recognizable once you have it painted up and everything. But you can still see the layer lines. You're not going to get away from that with FDM. So here's the 0.2 with the supported. This one, again, I hardly had any tears or breaks on the pieces. I think this one got pretty much the best definition. I was a little bit surprised once I got them primed, how similar they did look, especially with where the layer lines were. And even this one, you can see like some of the layer lines are different just because of the different orientation. But I think, again, once you get these primed and then you get them painted, you'll see that the ones that were cleaner to take the supports off ended up being the nicer of the models. So here's the two best ones. This is the 0.2 with the settings changes, and then the 0.2 with the pre-supported. You can see, again, the layer lines are in some of the different areas, but I think overall you can tell that the one on the left with which was the 0.2 with the settings versus the 0.2 on the right, there's pros and cons, right? So there's different layer lines in different areas, but then I think the 0.2 with the supports ended up coming off cleaner in terms of where all of the supports were. What do you guys think? I think the one on the left actually looks better when it's primed. But again, I wanted to get these, so I ended up painting both of these guys, just these two, because I didn't want to take the time to paint all four of them. So I ended up painting these guys up. They painted pretty nicely, and honestly, I was super surprised that by the end of it, it was hard for me to tell which ones were which one was which. There's a couple different areas that I knew to look at because I knew what were trouble spots and what parts broke off. But honestly, once you painted them up, again, you can see those different areas like underneath the tabard and the magazines for the gun, and you can see where some of the supports didn't fully come off. But really, telling the difference is kind of tough, and I think once you painted them up too, they looked really nice. So I purposely used pretty difficult models. I think too, if you're gonna print some less detailed models, they would definitely turn out even better. These are models from Tabletop Time. They're their Space Bears chapter of Space Marines. I supported the Kickstarter and got the files, assuming that one day I might get a resin printer or something to print these off. Decided to just use the FDM printer and see how it went, and figured I would do some comparison for you guys and see what they look like. So, I mean, leave it down in the comments what you think. I think these are awesome models. I definitely would have painted them in sub-assemblies instead, just because of that detail. But again, I think they turned out really well.
Okay, so we're at the end of this little journey here of FDM printing miniatures. I only painted the 0.2 millimeter nozzle with the settings, and then the 0.2 millimeter nozzle with the updated settings, and a supported pieces or supported miniature, pre-supported. I think that was probably the best one so far, and I think and it really comes down to what you can and cannot see. I mean, there's areas that are definitely, you can tell where there were supports and how rough those came off, and then there's also places where the layer lines on the supported piece are probably a little bit worse than they are on the 0.2 millimeter nozzle, but no support, or not supported, not pre-supported. At the end of the day, if you want models and you have an FDM printer and you want to print them off, it's totally doable. I mean, these guys look great. I think there's definitely pieces of them that I don't love. I mean, there's still some blemishes like up on the backpacks, up underneath here. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. Like right up here, this didn't really do well. And then the bottoms of the little pieces there didn't look too great. If I have pictures, I'll put them in here. And even the bottoms of these didn't turn out so great coming off the supports. But they're so minor, the places that are not so great. I mean, you could use these in a game or for display pieces. I don't necessarily game much. I do this more for the painting of it. So I actually think this pushes me towards getting a resin printer because I like the detail and I like to paint it, and painting's part of the fun, or most of the fun for me. And having those display models are just for myself. Definitely, if you're gonna print models, get the $12 0.2 millimeter nozzle, and then if you can find pre-supported models, I do think this one turned out the best. Again, there's some layer lines that I don't love, like this up in here on the shoulder pad. Let me see if I can point it out. Yeah, right there on the shoulder pad. And that happens. I mean, it's part of how you orient it too, on the pre-supported model versus the one that wasn't supported. So I mean, there's a trade-off, but I think the trade-off is better. I mean, the details are definitely a little bit more sharp. And where the supports were is definitely a lot cleaner on the supported model. At the end of the day, you can print FDM miniatures and paint them, and I think they turn out looking really good. I was skeptical. I mean, I'd seen some videos, but I wouldn't say that I was sold that they looked good or like readable enough. Coming out of this, I don't know if I'll FDM print more minis, again, just for my uses. But if I was playing a game and these were on the tabletop, these would be perfectly fine. Like I don't think anybody would know if I put this in front of them that these were FDM printed. I do think this pushes me towards getting a resin printer because, again, I like that detail, and I think that interests me, and I think I would have fun and getting that really high level of detail. I'd love to paint these guys again with maybe with a resin printer, and then making sure that I'm doing it in sub-assemblies, because I think that was the hardest part too. These models are difficult to paint. There's a lot of detail that I wish I could have put in here that I just couldn't because I couldn't fit the paintbrush in there. And I'm not a high level professional painter by any means, but I do like I like what I like, and I like to paint how I like to paint. So next steps, resin printing, something that might be coming to the channel soon, or something I might be getting into, and I'll bring everybody along with me. Otherwise, I do think that FDM printed vehicles are probably a good place to go next because there's less small intricate details, and there's a good chance that the layer lines will be hidden once you use a lot more metallics and things like that. So stay tuned. The next couple videos are probably going to be some building videos of actually a comparison to Games Workshop models, and then higher quality STL files I found online for those same models. And the hope is I can get pretty much the same quality and not have to pay the GW prices to get it. Just pay for, obviously, or just have the filament, which again, I already have. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and please hit that like and subscribe and comment down below if you think that FDM printing is for you and something that FDM printed models are for you, or that you're okay with this level of quality. Thanks.